I'm sure you've all played every FromSoftware game and are looking for new Souls-like games to try. In today's video, I'm recommending 10 games clearly inspired by FromSoftware's titles, but each one develops its own unique features to stand out. Let's start with Nioh and Nioh 2. These games are action RPGs set in a mythological version of Japan's Sengoku period, blending historical events with supernatural folklore. Both games are known for their challenging combat, intricate level design, and rewarding progression systems. They share elements of the Souls-like genre, with tough enemies, precise mechanics, and an emphasis on strategic gameplay. The combat focuses on managing ki, or stamina, with the unique ki pulse mechanic rewarding precise timing. A wide variety of weapons, katanas, spears, and axes, allows for flexible playstyles. Nioh 2 enhances the formula, adding yokai powers that let you harness supernatural abilities. This edition offers new strategic options and a fresh twist on combat. The loot system is another standout, offering an endless array of weapons and armor that feel meaningful and encourage experimentation. Combined with deep skill trees, it allows players to tailor their character's abilities to their preferences. The environments, from misty forests to burning temples, are richly detailed and atmospheric, pulling you into the world. While the storytelling is compelling, it's not always easy to follow. Nioh features William, a Western samurai, while Nioh 2 has a customizable silent protagonist. The lore is scattered, relying on atmosphere and cutscenes more than direct narrative. Despite the steep learning curve, the gameplay is fair and rewarding. Every victory feels earned, making these games ideal for players who enjoy intense challenges and rich customization. Hellpoint is a dark action RPG set aboard Irid Novo, a derelict space station orbiting a black hole. The game blends sci-fi and cosmic horror, creating a tense and unsettling atmosphere. As a nameless creation, you're tasked with uncovering the station's mysteries, facing off against hostile creatures and twisted bosses along the way. What immediately grabbed me was the setting. Irid Novo feels alive yet decayed, with dim corridors, massive industrial halls, and cryptic machinery. The dynamic lighting tied to a real-time clock system adds a fascinating layer. Certain doors, enemies, or events appear only at specific times, which makes the station unpredictable and keeps you curious about what might come next. Combat is deliberate and requires patience. Every weapon, whether a heavy melee blade or a ranged energy gun, feels distinct, and the progression system lets you shape your character as you prefer. Exploration is central. There's no hand-holding, so it's up to you to figure out where to go and how to survive. That sense of discovery, though occasionally frustrating, is one of the game's strengths. Co-op play is also a highlight. You can team up with a friend, either online or in local split screen, which makes facing the brutal bosses feel less isolating. Speaking of bosses, they're varied and challenging, often requiring more strategy than brute force to defeat. Hellpoint isn't flawless. The difficulty spikes can be jarring, and the story is cryptic to the point of confusion. But its eerie atmosphere, creative mechanics, and sense of mystery make it an experience I couldn't easily put down. Lies of P is a Souls-like set in a steampunk world that reimagines Pinocchio's tale. You play as P, a mechanical puppet exploring Krat, a city consumed by chaos and automatons. Your mission is to uncover the truth behind the city's fall and shape P's humanity through your choices. Krat's design immediately draws you in. Its mix of Victorian architecture and industrial decay creates an oppressive yet fascinating atmosphere. The dimly lit streets and grand interiors tell stories of a world that has crumbled. Every corner feels alive with haunting music and scattered clues, rewarding exploration. Combat is punishing but fair, emphasizing precise parries and attacks. The weapon assembly system stands out, letting you combine different blades and handles to suit your playstyle. It's a rewarding system that encourages experimentation. The narrative is also compelling, with moral choices influencing P's humanity and shaping multiple endings. Boss fights are a highlight, blending creativity with challenge. Each encounter tests your adaptability, pushing you to master the game's mechanics. Lies of P is tough, with steep difficulty spikes, but the balance of exploration, combat, and story makes it a unique and satisfying experience. Thymesia is an action RPG set in a plague-ridden kingdom where alchemy has spiraled into chaos. You play as Corvus, a warrior searching for the truth behind the kingdom's collapse. The game's focus on fast-paced combat and precise mechanics creates a challenging yet rewarding experience. A standout feature is the plague weapon system, which lets Corvus steal powers from enemies to use against them. This encourages aggressive play and keeps battles dynamic. The combat is complemented by skill trees that allow players to fine-tune their abilities, ensuring every encounter feels unique. The world of Thymesia is dark and atmospheric, with detailed environments that reflect the despair and decay of its setting. Storytelling is subtle, delivered through fragmented memories and exploration. Though the game is fairly linear, this sharpens its focus on combat and progression. Boss fights are a major highlight, demanding quick reflexes and strategic thinking. Each encounter tests your adaptability, rewarding determination and skill. While its difficulty may feel punishing at first, Thymesia's streamlined design makes it a compelling action RPG for those who enjoy mastering intricate systems. Wulong Fallen Dynasty is an action RPG set during the Three Kingdoms period of ancient China, blending history and myth. You play as a nameless militia soldier caught in a world of warring factions and dangerous creatures. The game offers fast-paced combat combined with deep RPG mechanics, creating a rewarding experience. A key feature is the morale system, where both you and your enemies gain or lose strength based on performance. Winning battles and defeating enemies boosts your morale, giving you an advantage, while failing can weaken you. This dynamic encourages aggressive play and strategic thinking, making each fight feel fresh and exciting. The weapon variety is impressive, from swords to polearms, each with a unique feel. The martial arts system adds fluidity to combat, letting you chain moves and perform special attacks. This constant experimentation with weapons and skills keeps the action engaging. The world is rich in detail, blending historical and fantastical elements. The environments are beautifully crafted, showcasing ancient Chinese culture and mythology. Boss fights are tough but rewarding, requiring mastery of the combat system. While the difficulty is high, it's never unfair, and each victory feels earned. Code Vein is an action RPG set in a post-apocalyptic world where you play as a revenant, a vampiric being with special powers. The game's story revolves around uncovering the mysteries of a ruined world filled with dangerous creatures, while exploring your character's past. It's set in a bleak, desolate environment, and the game does a great job of immersing you in a dark atmosphere. What stands out most to me is the combat system. It's fast-paced, but requires a lot of strategy. You have a variety of weapons to choose from, like swords and spears, each offering different playstyles. But the real twist comes with the blood codes, which let you customize your character's abilities. You can shift between them, allowing you to adapt to different situations, which I thought kept the gameplay fresh. The world itself is haunting, filled with abandoned cities and eerie landscapes that make exploration feel rewarding. The art style, with its anime-inspired characters and gritty, decaying world, is unique and fits the tone perfectly. You really feel the desolation, and discovering small bits of lore or hidden items in this setting makes the exploration worthwhile. The boss fights in Code Vein can be tough, but they're never unfair. They require you to be precise with your combat and have a good sense of timing. I found that with every battle, you learn a bit more about the game's mechanics, which makes it satisfying when you finally overcome a tough enemy. Shattered, Tale of the Forgotten King is an action RPG set in a beautifully ruined world. You play as the Wanderer, a mysterious figure who wakes up in a kingdom destroyed by the legacy of a forgotten king. The game's narrative unfolds through exploration, as you uncover bits of the past through environmental storytelling and cryptic NPC interactions. The combat system stands out as a key feature. It blends fast, deliberate strikes with a focus on timing and precision. With a variety of weapons, each offering a different playstyle, you're encouraged to experiment. Parrying, dodging, and using special attacks add layers to the combat, making every encounter feel rewarding when you master the mechanics. What I really appreciated is the game's world building. The mix of 2D and 3D environments creates a visually stunning experience. The hand-drawn art contrasts beautifully with 3D settings like ancient castles and lush forests. Exploring these areas felt like uncovering pieces of a forgotten story, and the design gives a real sense of atmosphere. The difficulty in Shattered is noticeable, especially with the boss fights. They require patience and strategy, but the game never feels unfair. It encourages experimentation with different approaches, allowing you to refine your tactics. The combination of challenging combat and immersive exploration makes Shattered a rewarding and memorable experience. Remnant 2 is an action RPG that builds on its predecessor, with tighter mechanics, more engaging combat, and an expanded world to explore. Set in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by monstrous creatures and dark forces, you play as one of the survivors tasked with defeating these threats. What makes Remnant 2 stand out is its mix of gunplay and melee combat, providing a dynamic and fast-paced experience. The combat system is a satisfying blend of shooting and close combat. You can choose from a variety of firearms and melee weapons, each offering different advantages depending on your playstyle. What I enjoyed most was the strategic use of weapons and abilities, which forces you to think on your feet, especially during the intense boss battles. Every fight feels intense, whether you're battling hordes of enemies or taking down massive bosses. The game also excels in exploration. The environments are varied, from abandoned cities to dense forests and ruined temples, each filled with secrets and dangerous creatures. The world building feels rich, and I found myself lost in the details. There's always something new to discover. The game's randomized level design keeps things fresh, offering different challenges every time you play. Multiplayer is another key element. You can team up with friends to take on challenges together, and the co-op gameplay feels natural, making the experience more enjoyable. Bleak Forsaken is an action RPG set in a dark, unforgiving world, where players control a lone warrior navigating through a desolate and decaying universe. The game takes place in a brutal environment filled with massive creatures, hostile forces, and a tragic, mysterious backstory. It blends elements of survival, exploration, and combat into an experience that feels both isolating and thrilling. The combat system in Bleak Forsaken is punishing but satisfying. It's all about precision and timing, with fluid melee combat and a variety of weapons to choose from. The enemies are relentless, and every battle feels like a test of skill. What I liked most about the combat is the weight it carries. The strikes feel impactful, and there's a real sense of danger with every move you make. The world itself is one of Bleak Faith's most striking features. It's hauntingly beautiful, with towering structures, crumbling ruins, and vast landscapes that feel both empty and full of secrets. The environments encourage exploration, and discovering hidden areas or lore-filled details adds depth to the experience. The atmosphere is grim, and the game's art style perfectly complements its somber tone. The sense of isolation and the need to rely on your wits and combat prowess makes every victory feel earned. The Last Hero of Nostalgaia is a quirky action RPG that blends retro gaming aesthetics with a unique narrative twist. Set in a world where characters and environments are stuck in a pixelated, nostalgic past, you play as a hero trying to navigate through a world caught between the old and the new. The game uses humor, satire, and a bit of self-awareness to bring its story to life. One of the standout features of The Last Hero of Nostalgaia is its combat system. It's a classic hack-and-slash style, where you'll find yourself swinging swords, dodging attacks, and using different abilities to defeat enemies. The game doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does what it does well, offering solid action that feels satisfying and responsive. The enemies you face are varied, and the bosses are especially memorable, offering a challenge that's tough but fair. The game's world is visually appealing. It's a nod to the past, filled with retro-style graphics, but it doesn't feel outdated. Instead, the world feels alive with character and charm, and the humor embedded in the setting adds to its personality. Exploring the different areas, from lush forests to pixelated towns, is both fun and rewarding, as you uncover new secrets and characters. What I appreciated most about The Last Hero of Nostalgaia is the way it plays with gaming nostalgia. It's not just a homage to older games, but a critique of them as well, poking fun at classic tropes while still embracing what made those games special. It's a challenging game that doesn't take itself too seriously, making for an enjoyable ride that balances both difficulty and humor. I hope this list gives you some new games to try and offers experiences just as engaging. Each game has its own personality, but keeps that challenge we love in Souls-like titles. Happy gaming, and let me know which of these games caught your attention the most.